Hey everyone, I've got a 2018 Toyota Tacoma. This is the 3rd gen. This is the one with a JBL audio, so I've got the premium package. And first thing I want to say real quick, I really like the JBL audio. So in this video, one of my key considerations with this new head unit is that the audio in the new head unit has to be as good or better than the JBL. And I'm going to be completely honest about that in my video, okay? The next thing is I have been kind of getting more and more little glitches and bugs when trying to connect my smartphone via Bluetooth to this Toyota head unit. And as far as I know, to this day, at least as I'm making this video, Toyota still doesn't retrofit these units with Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, which means you have to go to some kind of aftermarket system to be able to utilize that with your new phones. So with that all said, let's get started. Now, when you get one of these systems, you're going to get a box like this from Amazon or for wherever reseller you buy it from. You open it up. First thing you'll find is a user manual and a couple of installation wiring diagrams. There are some videos on YouTube that help explain. A lot of other guys have done this already, so you can certainly reference these, but also definitely reference those videos for the installation. So that's what I'm going to do. Within here, we've got a package of wiring. We've got a second package of wiring. This is the power cable, appears to be. Okay. We've got a couple of declipping tools and zip ties. And then the unit itself. The unit is wrapped up. I'm going to go ahead and break the wrap. I had a suspicion that the new unit does not bolt into the truck, meaning when we take the original head unit out, you're going to see that there are 4 10 millimeter bolts on there. And with the new unit, it looks like it just clips into the truck. I don't see mounts for the bolts, which means that the weight of this unit is probably not that great, that it's an actual issue. And since it's integrated into the actual trim, I think we should be okay. Screen does look pretty big. I will point out one thing too. I think a couple of people on the YouTube videos I've seen have said the same thing, where the color of this trim is not going to match what's in your Tacoma. If I'm not mistaken, most of the 3rd gen Tacomas may have had very similar trim color, so why they went with this particular color, I'm not sure. But that is something to keep in mind if you have any kind of, detail OCD. Now, before I do anything at all, actually, I'm going to go to my home page, actually my apps page on my stock OEM head unit, and I'm going to go to maintenance. I don't know about you, but I use this screen a lot, and I don't know if the new system has any sort of vehicle maintenance in it, so what I want to do is either write it down, or actually in my case, I'm just going to take a little video with my phone, and then I'll write it down later. Or actually, I'll just take a picture. There's my oil change. Got my oil filter. Actually, it's the same thing as my oil change. Then I've got tire rotation and tires. I got new tires, and I wanted to keep track of like how long I had them. Oh, got to replace my air filter. And then personal, I had my 4x4 drivetrain system tracked in here as well. What else? I think that's it. So, yeah. Like I said, don't know if the new system has this, so don't forget to check your maintenance. I kind of went through all the other settings, and I determined that there wasn't anything else that I needed to save for myself other than the maintenance. Because remember, once this head unit's out, all the data inside of it is sort of not there anymore, so don't forget. All right, let's go ahead and remove the stock head unit. All we have to do is pry off the trim. You don't need any tools for that. These red clips right here will be reused on the aftermarket unit, and the vent inserts will also need to be reused because that unit does not come with those. Set this aside. You will need a 10 millimeter socket. And if you haven't done so already, you may want to unplug your truck battery. In order to unplug power, all you need to do is remove the negative battery terminal. That will lose power, and it will also stop the annoying Tacoma beeping when the doors open. Okay, so I've got 4 10 millimeter bolts You will not be reusing these bolts, as far as I know, because the aftermarket unit is clipped permanently into the trim housing. Alternatively, in order to never lose these bolts, you could insert them back into their spots once the stock head unit has been removed. I think that's optional. So here's the stock head unit. We will be putting it aside. So what you should be left with is this harness, all this wiring here. And the next thing to do here is we're gonna go to that package that's marked as our particular truck with the JBL system, with the touchscreen. And we're gonna grab that harness that we need, and we're gonna start plugging everything into that harness. This is the stock trim insert piece, and I'm just kind of using these provided tools and a flathead screwdriver. And what I'm doing is kind of prying one side of the clip with the tool and then the other side with the screwdriver. And they seem to be coming off. You kind of have to pry apart both ends for this to work. With the vents, there are 1, 2, 3 clips. Use the provided clip remover tool or pry tool, and I use this end right here, and I'm basically just going in and opening that, prying out the clip and carefully pulling up on the vent. You see that? You can feel the clip move, and then I'll go in a circle. Remove that one, and while applying pressure, remove the other one. You're almost gonna have to maintain that pressure. There we go. That. And notice that the little vent director actually pops out because it's meant to rotate within that housing. So it's completely normal that that comes out. And there's a little comparison between the OEM and the aftermarket unit. The OEM has kind of this gunmetal metallic color to it, while the aftermarket one's more glossy, whereas this one's kind of a flat matte finish. Gonna line up the vent with the 3 clips, red clips. These will just get pressed on from the top. Nothing special about these. Okay, so the best way that I can think of showing how I wired the system up is the following. I went ahead and wired everything up. Again, my system had the JBL, and I'm using the harness that was named the CB004, not the 047, because I guess the 2018 Tacomas just used this wiring mechanism instead. You will be stealing the Canbus from the other harness, which is this red little box right here. So first thing you could do, if you want, is you could take the harness that's the CB004, which is right here, and connect whatever you can to the truck itself. So let's start in the beginning. We've got the harness, we have this connector right here. The white one's not labeled with anything, but it's got like gray, white, and black cables. Go ahead and connect that. We've got another one right here. It is labeled. It is the ZEOS A73254T-021. Connect that into the male of the truck. We've got another one that connects to the truck. The truck's got this blue harness connector. That's going to go into this one with the purple, black, and green cables. And by the way, these only fit one way. If they're not fitting, then they're the wrong wire, which is helpful because you can't really go wrong. On the left side of my truck, I've got some more stuff. I've got this USB cable, which I believe that's what the USB cable is, that goes down to the power. This goes into this little adapter, which is named ZECL-29008-211. It's basically like a USB to a little square female adapter. That will fit right into the truck. It'll click in. And finally, what's confusing is you will have, if you're like me, and I've got the JBL system, and I don't know if that matters or not, but I've got a couple of wires here from the Tacoma truck that did not have a home. So on the right side, I've got this black wire with a little kind of like a coax looking connector. And on the left side, I've got another one that's white, and it's got also kind of like a coax looking connector. I don't know where they go. According to the customer service, they don't go anywhere. There's nowhere on the unit that they go to. So now that we've got all the available connections done, we take the other wiring kit that came, and that kit connects to the other side of the power and connects to all of these auxiliary ports on the back of the head unit. Go ahead and connect everything you want. For instance, the SD card reader, you've got the USBs, you've got the GPS antenna, you've got the 4G antenna, the Wi-Fi little guy right here. Connect everything. It doesn't hurt, might as well. There's space back here, don't worry about it. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna start connecting the harness to the head unit. So again, there are some empty connectors here. So for instance, there's the one that says CB004-1, which is the version we're using. I did not find anywhere for it to connect to, which was really confusing. And but I just, like I said, I couldn't find anything for it to connect to. And there's another one that's not labeled. It also did not have a home. So, and I did try and confirm that they're not like identical, and so I'm just mismatching them because they will not fit another connector. The harness plugs into the head unit with a black harness connector here. And then you've got some AV cables. You've got red, white, and yellow. You've got two yellows actually coming out. To determine which yellow you're going to use, they're both called CAM-VIN. To determine which one you're going to use, you're going to tug at it and confirm that the one you want is connected to the connector that's connected to your truck, because the other one is connected to the loose connection that does not go anywhere. So we don't want that one. We want the one that is actually connected to something. Like see how I'm pulling on it and there's nothing here? So the other yellow one is the one that's connected to the truck. So I'm going to connect it to the head unit harness. The red one, you can't really mess up the red one because it says aux RN. There's only one red one, and the other one that comes from the head unit is called aux RN. So connect those together as well. And on the white, you've got aux LN, so left I'm assuming. And then on the other side, you've got the whites, but you know, if you're wondering which whites you want to use over here, you'll just make sure that it also says aux left N. So connect those together as well. Finally, there is this other connector that looks like this. This little plug connector goes into the head unit as well. You can't miss it. There's only one place it can go to. And now you have a couple of accessories on here, like the microphone, and I mentioned earlier the GPS antenna. All those things can be applied wherever you want, but I also took the SD card reader and the USB dongles that go into the accessory ports here, and I snaked them back through my head unit down underneath my basically underneath my glove box, and they're just sticking out there. I don't have a better place for them right now, but I think they'll be fine down there. If I ever need them, I'll just reach down and use them. So that is how I connected my harness, and honestly, I can't think of a better way to explain it because the instructions are a bit lacking, and since the Tacomas are not all identical, you know, you've got such a wide range of years, things change, the harnesses change. It's best just to go through one cable at a time, see what fits, and plug it in. Got the GPS unit right here, little GPS receiver or whatever, antenna. And I'm just gonna peel off the tape backing, and I think you see that flat area back there, right kind of in here. I think I'm just gonna apply it right there, 'cause nothing should be in the way. See where I did that? And then the 4G antenna is on that bar. And then check this out. Got my microphone right here. I routed it through, there's a little opening in there. I routed it underneath this panel, and it's right here. So now I've got this big old nest here. I've got zip ties, but I'm not going to use them because I just don't have time for that. I'm going to just carefully take all of this and fit it into the hole, the cavity of the truck. I've got all my clips, and I'm gonna just look underneath, make sure I'm not pinching any wires, on the top, and go ahead and fit it in. Feels about right, and I'm gonna push, and we're done. And I'm gonna go ahead and peel off this plastic. I would not peel the plastic off until you are 100% confident you're keeping this head unit. Otherwise, if you're going to be taking it back out, don't take the plastic off yet. Turn the truck back on, go through all the menus, get yourself comfortable with it. Then take the plastic off. Don't worry, the plastic does not get in the way of the touch sensitivity. All right, let's go over some of the menu options. So I'm going to head and turn my accessory on in my truck. And you'll notice my screen booted up pretty quickly. Now, if you turn your system on and you see an Android logo loading, that's just because it did a hard reboot and it's going to take 10 or 15 seconds for it to boot all the way. However, going forward, when you're, you turn the truck on, you've been already using the system, you'll notice that it'll immediately go likely to your CarPlay if you have an iPhone or whatever home screen it chooses to go to. So it's pretty quick. Don't be concerned about that Android logo at first. So let's back up a little bit. Let's go to the home, where is most likely you're going to land when you first get this unit. You'll land on this home page here. First thing you want to do is click on the settings gear right here and go to System and go to Date and Time. And chances are it's going to be set to some kind of time zone in China. So go ahead and toggle and play around with the time zones to get what you want. If it's not automatically choosing the right time zone for you, turn off the automatic time zone selection and select it yourself, which is what I had to do. Now let's go back to the home page, and I want to show you one other thing here. Let's swipe to the right, just like you would on a smartphone. Swipe to the right again, and there's something called a DSP EQ. If you open that, that is your equalizer. So you can use a handful of presets here, or you can just use your fingers to select the faders as you want them to. And like I said, I have the JBL system in my truck, and so far I'm pretty happy with the system. I don't see any sort of like compromise between this and the JBL system. So I'm pretty happy with it so far, actually. Now let's go back to the home page here. I'm going to go back to home, and let's say you want to connect your phone for the first time via Bluetooth. Go ahead and swipe right again. Swipe right one more time to get to your apps. You got your apps here. And find the BT app. That's your Bluetooth app. You'll click on that, and it automatically opens up a list of paired devices if you already did this, or if not, available devices if your smartphone device is willing to pair with another device. Typically at this point, you're going to be able to see the head unit pop up on your smartphone, and you can actually use the owner's manual, which comes with this head unit, to go to the pairing section, and it'll tell you that the unit has a specific name, and you're going to select it and pair with it, and then your unit will show up right here. Now mine actually says the Bluetooth is turned off because CarPlay is in use. That's normal because now I'm actually paired with a CarPlay system here, and it's sort of stealing the Bluetooth from this typical generic Bluetooth menu. Now you might be wondering, well, how do I get to the CarPlay from here? Well, let's go back to the home, and the CarPlay app here is actually called Z-Link 5. I don't know why it's called that, but that's what it's called. If you click on it, it opens up your CarPlay. I've got all my apps here. I've got music, Spotify, whatever I want, and that's how I get there. Now, if I turn the truck off completely and I turn the truck back on, you'll notice that it immediately pops up the last CarPlay connection. Now, if my phone had been disconnected from the system, let's say tomorrow morning I get back in here, I turn the truck on, you will turn the unit on, and it'll actually have sort of a pairing window for a couple of seconds, and then the CarPlay will get back on again. But otherwise, it might kick you back to the home page. So it just kind of depends. There's a couple of other options. There's like a built-in media player. You've got YouTube. If you do want to go to YouTube, you have to have an internet connection. So actually, I could probably find the Wi-Fi for my house since I'm parked pretty close to it, or use my phone's hotspot and connect and watch stuff on YouTube, which is pretty cool. Because I don't think the CarPlay app displays YouTube, probably for safety reasons. Also, if you want to look at all of the open apps that are open in this head unit, you can press this little double window icon on the top right, and you can swipe through all the apps. And if, let's say, you want to clear them all, you can clear them all. Or You can actually just flip them up like you would on your smartphone, whether it's an Android or iPhone. Now, one interesting thing is that now that I've got the aftermarket head unit installed, one of my icons here is missing. So if I toggle through them, now my hood's open, so it's going to keep saying that, the media icon is no longer there. That's because the media connection, or the sort of the communication between what's playing and what this head unit reads, is no longer there. So it no longer knows what music you have playing. You can't really control it from that. But your steering wheel controls for your music and your volume still work. As you can see, I can change my volume and I can play my music using the up and down. Real quick, let's talk about the backup camera. Once I put my truck into reverse, I get, actually my tailgate's down, so I'm seeing my license plate. But there's one thing I want to point out real quick. If you click on the little gear icon on the bottom, you will see that you have some options here. You've got show track line. You can turn that on or off. Your truck probably already has a track line, but you can add the aftermarket track line. You can also show parking lanes. This means that if I turn my steering wheel, it turns with the head unit. I'm going to go ahead and turn both of them off for now. And then the distance and stuff like that, you can just sort of toggle that with these plus and minus buttons, like track length, for instance. That's the track length over here. So if I turn that on, you'll see that it's going away or into me a little bit closer. Now, one more thing, if I go to the little light bulb here, there's a little button called model. If I click on model, you have a bunch of options here where you've got different types of camera models. The suggestion I got from the vendor is you just stick it to the auto option and it will use whatever settings your backup camera has from OEM, and just stick to that. Otherwise, if you pick something else, I think it kind of gets messed up. I did notice that the resolution looks a little bit, well, it looks a little bit grainy. And I guess the reason for that is because the resolution of the OEM camera isn't amazing. And when you stretch it out onto a 10 plus inch screen, you know, obviously it's going to look a little bit more pixelated. So you just kind of have to get used to that. And so just a quick reminder again, I get to this page, I have no idea what's going on here. I just got to swipe right. I say that, but then swipe right and go to the Z-Link 5, and that's my Apple CarPlay. Now I'm back at where I like to be, where I can go to listen to my music or do whatever I want right here. So as I mentioned earlier, there is an app on the OEM Toyota head unit where you can take care of your car maintenance. When it comes to the aftermarket head unit, the car maintenance is a little bit limited as far as I know. So first of all, go to the home page. And when you're there, you can swipe to the right. And there is an app called Car Info. We'll click on that. And this app communicates with some of the information in your vehicle. So for instance, we can go to TPMS info. So if you have pressure monitoring system, it will actually match what is right there. So we've got 28, 28, 29, 29. Exactly it. So it's talking to the vehicle. We also have the next one down is called Trip Oil Fuel. Basically it's your your consumption. So a little bit similar, but it is kind of weird that it's stuck in some metric form. So right now I've got no info because the truck has been sitting, but there is that. And then vehicle set is where you can go around and pick different settings, like, you know, your headlamp sensitivity, automatically locking your doors when you shift to park. And let's see, just, 2-button unlock, all those things. These are all things that you will find in your OEM head unit and more. So all of that's available through the app called Car Info. We also have hybrid vehicle, but I mean, this is not a hybrid, so that doesn't really matter. And radar settings, I'm not going to mess with that, but we'll go to the next one, which is the original car information. Tells you all the stats of your vehicle. Again, some of these are in kilometers, although I know they're not supposed to be. Like I have 91,000 miles, but it's km. So also you'll notice there are typos in here. You'll just have to ignore them. I think it's just a developer issue where they had some issues with translation. So you'll just have to ignore those. Amplifier info, finally. If you go to the amplifier info, you will see that you can actually also control your auto sound leveler, which should be for speed related volume settings, dynamic volume. And you can also change the like the bass, the mid, the treble. But I found that it's better not to do that. It's better to use the equalizer app, which is over here, because it just sounds better when you use this app instead of the settings that I showed you a second ago. If we go back to the car info right here, I would just leave these all at 0. So in summary, when it comes to maintenance and keeping track of your maintenance, there is not specifically an option here that shows maybe like your oil filter mileage, your oil mileage, your tires and stuff like that. I haven't been able to find that. Hopefully there is an app that you can download to keep track of that. Otherwise, you'll just have to do it either through a dealer or yourself on paper.